All right, thanks to Chad. Joining us now, forensic criminologist Dr. Laura Petler. Hello, Laura. Good afternoon. Good Friday afternoon. Thank you for your time on this Friday. This case has attracted so much attention. You're also a private investigator. We've seen you on Dr. Oz and other things. You know what you're talking about. So that's why we have you on.
Thank
What
you
is your
having me.
what's your initial gut tell you? I mean, to me, it's like, all right, dead in the preserve, killed himself most likely. The condition of the body, though, will they ever know for sure what was his cause of death? What do you think is going to happen here?
So, Ted, you're right that domestic violence or intimate partner violence is often a pathway to suicide or to murder-suicide. And in this case, we've seen all of the dynamics ranging from Gabby being a missing person to then Brian becoming a missing person, then Gabby being found deceased, and now Brian being found deceased. I think it could change the scope of the way that the law enforcement agencies involved release information about Gabby's death. And then, of course, it could change the way that they release information about Brian's death as well, because there's going to be, at this point, no pending charges against him for her murder. So it definitely will change the way that things proceed from here, having him being found dead.
What's your take on the family? They were scrutinized. They called the FBI through their attorney and said, hey, we're going to go look in this one area of the park that we just want to go check it out. And boom, lo and behold, there's his backpack, notebook, and remains. A lot of people think they knew where he was, and they didn't tell investigators where he was for weeks and weeks. What's your take? What are the odds of the family finding a needle in the haystack after weeks of searching by professionals?
I think that behavior is purposeful in most cases, and I think their behavior was purposeful in this case from the standpoint that they know their son, they know what we call his enviro-socioculturalism, meaning what are his routine activities, where are the places he likes to frequent, what are his daily routines, what are things that he likes to do, places he likes to go, things he likes to do as far as like reading or writing. And for some reason, they knew to look in that location. It's possible that he hadn't been there the whole time. It's really unknown at this point. But for me, it was definitely interesting that they knew right where to go. When they set out to search for him, they went basically right to him.
They cut out according to her, their daughter in terms of communication during this process of everyone looking for answers. The parents, when you analyze their actions, what do you think possibly was going on in terms of possibly protecting Brian in those days and turned into weeks between when Gabby was reported missing and they found his body?
I have worked many cases, hundreds of cases like this case, and it is extremely common for either the parents and or the spouses or intimate partners of any person of interest, suspect or subject, to definitely protect that person at all cost.
The initial feeling people, an armchair quarterback just say, well, if my kid did that, I'd grab him by the scruff of the neck and take him down to the police officers and tell him what happened. What happened to Gabby? What's the reality, though? Human reaction, parent to child, spouse to spouse, when you're confronted with something like this?
Yes, I agree with you, Ted. I think that the initial reaction is maybe to protect your child or protect the situation. And a lot of times I think that people get overloaded with all the information, including those around the subject, the person of interest or suspect, defendant, in cases similar to this. And they do have a human nature to want to protect their own.
Yeah, Attorney Bertoloni, the Laundrie family attorney, released a statement about the Laundrie saying Chris and Roberta Laundrie have been informed that the remains found yesterday in the reserve are indeed Brian's. We have no further comment at this time, and we ask that you respect the Laundrie's privacy at this time. The attorney has been come under a lot of criticism because specifically Yeah, all right, you're not going to talk to the media and maybe not even investigators about your son. But what about the Petitos? When your boy comes home in Gabby's van and you don't report her missing, you have to wait till the family reports her missing days later. He had 10 days, basically. They knew for 10 days. They asked him, they had to have said, where's Gabby? And what they knew, we don't know. But the attorney is taking the blame, saying, I told them, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. It's your Fifth Amendment right. What's your take in terms of that advice, first of all, from the attorney, but then also, again, the behavior of the parents, especially during those excruciating days where the Petito family had no idea what happened to their daughter?
So I specialize in intimate partner homicides that are staged, and that can mean anything. It can be meaning staged as a missing person, staged as a botched robbery, staged as a natural death, staged as a suicide or other types of death. And when the person in question, in this case Brian Laundrie, goes and speaks with people that he's familiar to, we often see them script what they are going to say to people who they know they can sell a certain story to. So it's possible, one possible scenario is that when they asked him, where's Gabby, he provided something that they would believe, like where I dropped her off to go visit with her family for a few days, she'll be back, or something like that they would believe. They basically, it's like we call it prescriptive stories. They prescribe, they write a specific script to basically present to that person they're speaking to where they're going to believe it. So they use something within the victim's routine activity or something, or a place, or something that the victim does most often, and that's what they tell them, and it basically buys that subject time. They want time to figure out what they're going to do. They could be in cognitive overload and not really understand the entire picture here of what they've done and how they intend to get themselves out of it and self-preserve.
And time can also help them in terms of evidence if indeed the crime was committed in an outside area where the environment will take its toll on potential evidence collecting. Bottom line, from what you know and what about this case and other cases that you have looked into, do you think that he has left behind a note, evidence of what really happened? Will these families be made whole at the end of the day? Will they know what happened? Or does a person like this take it to the grave?
Most often in cases, in the hundreds of cases I have worked, they most often do take it to the grave. I think that no matter what is found, it's going to give a glimpse of the events into what happened to Gabby Petito and what happened to Brian Laundrie. In suicide cases, it's kind of a public myth that everybody thinks that suicide notes are always left. They're not. And so no matter what is in that notebook, from the crime scene reconstructive standpoint or from the death scene reconstructive standpoint, while we can use that to begin to imply things, and unless he literally wrote a statement of exactly what happened in there and he's telling you what happened, I still wouldn't buy the entire thing, because I think that subjects like this notoriously leave things out and they skew things their way. One way or the other. That's been my experience in the course of my 20 years in homicide.
Yeah, and no one's going to write the gruesome details about themselves down.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. They want everybody to know. Whatever meets the needs of the offender is what we say. So no matter whatever his needs were, he's going to write to that end. So if his needs were to get everything off his chest and to give everybody the gruesome details, then that's what he wrote, because that meets his needs. If it meets his needs to take it all to the grave and just render an opinion or a statement of why he took his own life, or if that's what happened and he died of suicide, whatever his needs are is reflected. I think that writing is a reflection of thinking, and in this case I think that we'll have a glimpse into what he was thinking.
Dr. Laura Pettler, thank you for your insight and expertise on this Friday. Appreciate your valuable time.
Thank you, Ted.